Dr. Manikandan. Dr. Manikandan has completed BE in Computer Science from Madras University, ME from Annamalai University. He completed his PhD in the field of image processing from Anna University. He has about 18 years of experience in teaching at various levels and presently working as associate professor in SCSE BIT Bhopal. He has published 30 papers at international journals and international conferences. His research interest includes image retrieval, face recognition, pattern recognition, and information security. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this great introduction.
Sir, good morning, sir. I'm Dr. Thank you for obliging, sir. And we hope to have very useful sessions in the morning and afternoon, sir. Sir, my
Yes,
only, because you're taking 2 sessions, it would be nice if you could show some demo videos to our participants, sir, just to break the monotony, if possible, sir.
Sure.
Demo videos related to the content what you're covering, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's a part of our program, part of our presentation, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And good morning to participants and welcome back again, and see that you are there for the entire session. Please don't log out because you'll not be able to assimilate all the information. See that you attend the complete session in the morning and in the afternoon. Have a good day, all of you, and thank you, sir. Please continue, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. With reference to our introduction given by our Navya Reddy ma'am and our Sarda ma'am for the introduction. Thank you. I am Dr. Manikandan, VIT Bhopal University, Madhya Pradesh. I'll be just start sharing my slides. From on, we'll move on with what's the topic we are going to discuss today. So this is my small information. VIT Bhopal University, Madhya Pradesh, and my email ID is this. And today our discussion is in twofold. So morning session will be covering the introduction of fog computing. We'll be delaying this fog computing in detail. And in the afternoon, we'll be discussing about the next generation SDN and the extension, what are the features this SDN is adding into this fog computing model. So in this morning session, we'll be getting into what is fog computing. We'll be classifying what is this cloud computing and fog computing and how these two are getting differentiated. And why this fog computing is needed in this IoT arena. And we'll be classifying how this cloud computing and edge computing is getting differed by the functionalities and its capabilities. And I'll be likely visiting about what is this Open Fog Consortium is and what are responsibilities and how this Open Fog Consortium taking the role of standardizing the models and establishing the methodologies and procedures for this fog computing infrastructure. And we'll be dealing this open fog referenced architecture in detail. We'll be seeing what are the different pillars available in this open fog reference architecture. And at the last, we'll be seeing what are the ecosystems available with this fog computing model. I hope that this last 2 days discussion, you might have gone through with what is big data is and what is IoT systems is, and how these two technologies taking up the market to bring new ideas and new products to the world. This fog computing is an ardent feature how the new technologies are demanding for. So we'll just get into what is fog computing. So I'll be just showing you 2 images in the screen. Hope you can see this. From these two images, a natural two informations, a natural cloud and a natural fog, which is helped by Wikipedia and Google. So we can understand these two images give you what does natural entities are, right? So there is a fog in the right-hand side and there is a cloud in the left-hand side. And how these two natural data sets giving you the information, the same way we are going to associate how this fog computing and cloud computing is getting different. So by this first image in the left-hand side, we can see the clouds are just far away from the air and which is not closer to the air entities in the ground. And if you see at the right side, the fog, as per Wikipedia, the fog is described by a fog is a visible aerosol consisting of tiny water droplets or ice crystals suspended in the air at or near to the Earth's surface. By seeing this, we can very clearly classify how this fog and how the cloud is connected with the Earth. So here we are going to associate this Earth surface with the devices and edge elements which are going to take a part in our IoT technology. So it is very similar to, so the fog is very closer to the entities which are participating in your IoT communication, and the cloud is something a bit far away for your communication, right? So hopefully, so this fog and this cloud technology, so something is closer to where the entities which are going to participate in our communication, and something the cloud, which is something far in the communication side. So by the way that this fog technology helps us in bringing the connectivity between your communicating devices something closer, which will avoid different difficulties and the limitation given by your cloud computing, right? So we'll just move on what is cloud computing is, and we can see how this cloud computing is having certain limitation with. The cloud computing, we could know that the cloud computing is described or could be understood by on-demand availability of computer system, resources, especially data storage. Basically, we need a cloud storage and computing power without the direct active management by the user. So this cloud computing technology giving different facilities to the computing devices, so which are in the needy of the data communication. So you could see that there is a mobile phones, laptops, servers, desktops, tablets, which are connecting this cloud computing technology for different needs. It could be for infrastructure, or it may be for a platform request, or it may be for different applications it want to run. So this cloud technology is giving a support which could serve them as per the needs of the different devices which are connected in the network. But this cloud computing technology is not able to meet what is the IoT devices are needing these years. So here, this cloud model is not efficient to handle the different requirements of your IoT devices. The following issues are very well addressed, and this fog computing is take a place to resolve these issues. The different issues of your cloud computing is referred by this, the volume and the bandwidth and the data latency communication in your IoT device communications. Right? So we'll take a small example and we could understand how the cloud computing is finding a difficulty in your data communication and meeting the needs of your different IoT devices. So you can just see this. We are just shown an oil pipeline industry, which could a refinery system, which could refine the oil materials by using different sensors and different control valves, right? which could produce better oil solutions for this oil industry. So here, these industries need a large number of valves, a large number of control sensors, and a huge volumes of sensors. So they want to control the entire process of the operating of the industry. So you might have heard in our India, we are having a railway industry which is placed at Jamnagar, Gujarat, which is having industry pipeline of nearly 4,000 kilometers, 4,000 kilometers of pipes. This is arranged in the industry of nearly 25 acres of a close space, and which is consisting of nearly 25 sensors per kilometer. So if we calculate this, for this 4,000 kilometers of pipes which is handling this oil communication or a conduction, it needs nearly 400 sensors that need to participate in this controlling of your oil flow. And all these sensors are connected with your IoT units, which can measure the different values of your different sensors. By the way, this data are going to be communicated with a cloud infrastructure that to analyze what is happening in this oil pipeline scenario. And this IoT units which is used to identify the abnormal communication or conduction that's happening in the oil pipeline. And based on what are the abnormal conditions this sensors will identify a proper solution and immediate action to solve the particular issue. So if we take this infrastructure with a IoT communication, which may leads the data which we are going to communicate is going to be nearly number of terabytes. Say that one unit of say that 10 sensors of this oil pipeline nearly needs 1 terabytes of data communication per hour. Say that if it is 400 sensors you are going to communicate, so nearly it will be 400 terabytes of data we are going to communicate in the cloud space, right? So this 400 terabytes of memory information, right, need to be updated, uploaded in our cloud space, and this data need to be processed in the cloud computing environment, and this could take a number of milliseconds to arrive to the results or addition that would take a measure to solve a particular problem, right? So if we are having this kind of a architecture in your environment, this could lead a damage, this could lead a bigger issue or a difficulty at the management of the infrastructure in the industry, right? So here the fog computing is take a place, and here the communication that's need to be with the entities that's going to participate in the IoT, it's going to be communicated to the edge devices at first, and then the data which are necessary for further communication with the clouds that are going to be uploaded in the cloud further, right? Just a second. Right? So we'll come to here, the different limitations as we are seeing here. So the cost of the bandwidth that is going to happen. So as I said, the volume of the information that we are going to communicate through this sensors which is going to be millions of terabytes we are going to communicate, and the response time nearly surely it will be number of milliseconds, which could lead to damage or which could lead to a difficulty at the end. And in case if you assume this, if the cloud is to be overloaded or the cloud is down at a time this devices want to communicate, it will be a bigger problem which will not meet the IoT devices requirement. So now we come to this, what is the fog computing is. The fog computing are fog networking, which is also called as fogging, is an architecture that uses the edge devices to carry out substantial amount of computation, storage, communication, and locally and routed over the internet backbone. So here, this fog computing network The data are going to be arranged in this order. The edge devices which are going to participate in your IoT communications are going to be placed at the bottom. And the next layer, the fog nodes are going to participate. And the next layer, the cloud data centers are going to participate. So here, the fog computing model move the computation from cloud closer to the edges and potentially write up the IoT sensors and actuators to take the charge of taking the immediate action which is necessary for the situation. So the computational, networking, storage, and acceleration elements of this new model that is named as a fog nodes. These are not completely fixed to the physical edge, but should be seen as a fluid system of this connectivity. So I hope you could understand why this fog network is coming into, why this fog model is coming into this cloud environment further. So as we said, the cloud environment is not able to meet the requirements of your IoT devices, and the consumption of the data that we are going to communicate, as well as the latency time that to give the response for the communication, all this make this the fog computing take the charges in place. And by the way, the fog computing is giving enhanced communication of the IoT devices. So we'll just see what are the timeline of your fog technologies, how it is arrived and how this fog technology stands now. So as per the reference by this fog consortium, the fog technologies were coined by at the year of 2009, which is by the Carnegie Mellon University. So the Carnegie Mellon University has just coined a word cloudlet, which is just adding an additional information about how the cloud computing is taking a part. So cloud computing is, as we said, the cloud computing is taking a part in the process of data communication. The cloud communication, all your data need to be passed to the cloud, and which is consuming the time. By the way, that this cloudlet is just enhancing the mobility of your cloud network. By the way, that the different edge devices are given a service with what is the cloudlet is all about. So that the cloud devices which are going to participate, which are given with the support of computing power and which are having the decision taking power. And by the way, that the cloudlet is a model which is proposing that how the edge computing can be brought into the market. As of 2012, the fog computing was coined by the Cisco Technologies. And Cisco just started working with the model that how the edge devices can take up the responsibility of computing power for the devices. And in 2014, the ITU, which has been published a proposal which is titled as Tactile Internet. So the Tactile Internet was published at the year of 2014, which adding the idea of how we can reduce the latency that is happening with our cloud network. And it want to extremely shorten the communication of that is happening with your cloud network, so that how much the data that we are going to communicate with and how much the data that we are going to push with. So they want to reduce and they want to shorten the transits that are happening with your cloud network technologies. And by the year of 2014, at September, this ETSI has just coined, right, MEC technologies, which is referred as multi-access edge, which they have coined the way how the edge devices could be added with a new capacity of computing power. And at 2015, Microsoft Research, they have started working with the hyperscale data centers with the micro data centers at the edge of networks. And by 2015, this Open Fog Consortium was formed and formulated with different industries that we are going to look into, and different universities they take a part to bring this new Open Fog technologies to the market. By December 2015, the Microsoft data centers were brought this idea that middleware of mobile computing, by the way that the mobile computing has been added with the power of how to handle this different computing powers as needed by your IoT devices. And September 16, at the year of 2016, this ETSI has been started bringing a new technology called as an mobile edge computing. And 2017, IEEE also started working with creating a fog computing model and networking standard to the market. And at 2017, the ETSI has brought this four applications and edge computing with a different ideas of how these devices can collaborate in the market and how these devices can be enhanced with different skills and capacities. So this was a small timeline, how this folk technology has been came into the market and how it stands now. So we'll just see what is folk computing is and what is edge computing is. So these two terminologies, folk computing and edge computing, are a bit different. Sometimes this folk and edge computings are referred as one, but they are having some key difference. The folk works with a cloud, whereas the folk computing needs a cloud computing environment that it need to communicate certain data to a cloud, and folk is not going to replace your cloud computing data. Whereas the edge computing is purely of, it is excluding this cloud infrastructure. By the way that edge computing, totally it is having the responsibility of taking up all the computing supports and whatever the needs of your IoT devices. And folk is hierarchical, where the edge tends to be limited with small number of layers. So as we said, the folk computing is having different layers, as it is the ground layer where your edge devices are going to participate, and the middle layer your folk is going to participate, and third your cloud is going to participate. So in addition to the folk, right, it addresses the networking, the storage, control, and acceleration. Whereas your folk is having all this edge technologies are having only limited power of computing, and it's struggling with storage technologies which is supported by our cloud computing. Right? So now we'll just visit what this Open Folk Consortium is. So this Open Folk Consortium, otherwise called as an Open Folk, is a public-private ecosystem formed to accelerate the adoption of folk computing in order to solve the limitation that we have said at the beginning, the bandwidth, latency, and the communication challenges associated with the IoT technologies. Further, this Open Folk Consortium is adding the features and facilities of the artificial intelligence technologies, robotics, and tactile internet methodology which was proposed earlier, and other advanced concepts is in a digitalized world. And this folk consortium was formed by different industries, so ARM, Cisco, Dell, Intel, Microsoft, and Princeton University. And exclusively this Princeton University, the computing laboratory, edge computing laboratory, they joined hands with this Open Folk Consortium initiation. So this consortium is having a high-tech industry companies and academic institutions across the world aim to standardization of different technologies, exclusively folk technologies, and the promotion of folk computing in various capacities and the field. So this Open Folk Consortium is a one which bringing these different standards and bringing the different ideas and suggesting that how this folk computing can be extended further and improved further. So this Open Folk Consortium has given a reference order, a reference architecture, which describes it, what are the different ideas of this Open Folk reference model, which could be used to build different IoT devices in the market. So this open fork computing targets to the cross-cutting corners like control of performance, latency, and efficiency of your systems. And this fork and cloud computing are mutually beneficial and independent continuum. So here, the open fork reference model is very clearly defining. So the cloud is going to be continuing further, and it is these two entities are independent, but the cloud we are not excluding from your representation. The open fork reference model enables a fork cloud communication as well as the fork-fork interface communication. The open fork reference architecture offers several unique advantages over the different approaches, which are referred as a scale, which is referred as security, cognition, agility, latency, and efficiency. So comparing to this cloud technologies and cloud model architecture, this fork reference architecture is very specific to this 5 different features as this open fork network is required for. Security, as these devices are participating more and more in the network, the additional security to ensure the safety of all the transaction is very much expected. So the fork very clearly defines what are the security models we have to take care of in this devices establishment of your fork communication. And cognitions, so it knows that what are the devices that are participating in this communication, and it will be client-centric, and which enables the autonomy of different devices that's participating in the communication. And moreover, the agility provides a rapid innovation, also the affordable scaling under a common infrastructure. And moreover that, it bringing a different idea that how different devices could scale up further to make this common infrastructure to provide and meet the needs of different IoT devices. And latency, as we said at the start, the latency is very much reduced here. The real-time processing by cyber physical systems, which bring this latency something very lower compared to our cyber technology, cloud technologies. And further, the efficiency, the dynamic pooling ideas is of local unused resources from participating end user devices that bring the idea that how these resources can be rightly used and completely used to meet the efficiency of your data transaction. Right? Finally, we would know that this fork computing is a layer between your cloud computing and your edge devices. So edge devices, we know that the different devices which are participating in your data communication. It could be your router, it could be your modem, or it could be your telephone, or it could be your computer or your PC, which are participating in your data communication of your IoT data transaction. Right? So there are n number of devices are participating, and how this data are going to be communicated to take a particular decision. So that's the place your fork is coming to the picture. So this fork model, right? So there will be 3 layers we are trying to represent here. So one is your terminal layer, and the second one is your fork layer, and the third one is your cloud layer. So in the terminal layer, all your edge devices are going to participate. So which are going to take a part in your data communication, which are going to be the end devices which are going to communicate with your client machines. So your mobile phones, computers, and different devices which are participating in your IoT transactions. And here the fork layer, which comes at the middle, which takes a part of taking the responsibility of computing, taking the responsibility of processing and analyzing, as well as giving an immediate decision over whatever the request of your terminal devices. And further, your cloud layer is only for the purpose of to store your data sets for your future references, and which are the data are necessary for your statistical information. Those data sets alone we are going to transfer to a cloud layer. So the remaining things is we are going to keep it with your fork layer itself by the way that we are reducing down the latency time that is taken by your cloud systems, right? So this is the capacity that the fork layer bringing to this edge devices along with the support of your cloud layer, right? So I'll be just giving you a small self check, right? So what we know by this discussion, right? So fork computing is also known as fogging, right? Is that true or false? Can I have an answer and response from the audience? Can I have an answer from the participants? Anyone? Fork computing is also known as fogging. Right? So true, fine. And edge computing. Edge computing is otherwise called as fork computing. Is that true or false? Ooh. So I'll come to the answer. The fork computing is otherwise called as in fogging as per the standards by your fork consortium. Edge computing is otherwise called as fork computing is totally a false, which cannot be. The edge computing is totally different, which we have just discussed earlier. The edge computing is having only the capacity of handling the IoT devices that to process whatever the requests your IoT devices are giving to. But these edge devices are not capable to store the information which is needed for the further transaction. Means that assume that if you are having a CCTV camera or a web camera, that the data you want to communicate with a cloud network, right? So if your data are going to be communicated to the cloud for processing, analyzing, for any intrusion is happening, right? So any intrusion that to be identified or abnormal to be identified. So here the communication that need to be given to the cloud, so where the processing is going to take place, and after the processing only the system can reply back. Whereas the edge computing devices, which can take the process immediately, which can respond to the units immediately. Say that if your CCTV camera want to give an alarm of intruder, then this edge computing immediately process the intrusion of the guy or intrusion of the person immediately will give alarm, but the data cannot be recorded further. Whereas your fork computing is having the facility of two. It can do computing and it can do storing of your data. Right? So there is a cloud computing is sitting other side. So in the next level, so edge computing can connect to a cloud to take your data further. And the next one, ETSI, something I want to put this question to this because we just shown how the history of your, the timeline of your fork computing, right? So when I was looking about how the timeline of this folk technologies, this ETSI, right? It is an European telecommunication standard institution. It is like your IEEE standard or your ACM or your folk consortium. So ETSI is a telecommunication standard unit which describes us how this folk technology uh, can be extended further by the years of 2014. Right. So this what a small self check to make ourselves clear with. Right. So we'll move on with the pillars of your open folk architecture. In this discussion, we'll be dealing with what are the different pillars referred by your open folk consortium. So Open Folk Consortium, as I said, it is a consortium of standardizing the folk technologies, where the number of industries are participating, where the number of universities also participating, to bring new technology, new standards to meet your IoT devices these years. You might have heard recent technologies, say even I experienced recently, just a few months back, I just brought in one CCTV camera for my personal use. Right? I don't have any idea of how the CCTV camera is going to be functioning and where this data is going to be stored and all. Right? I just ordered it and I just brought the product. And after that, I was just installing the device. So as per our experience, we could understand. So just connect with the network, right? Just install the application and just connect the device, which could do the capturing of different scenes. And it has been noticed in the application, there was two different kind of a storage methodology for the video that the camera is going to record with. So it has been shown, one is local storage, so that whatever the videos is that the camera is recording, it will be stored in the local device, which is connected to this CCTV camera. And the second one is a cloud storage. So cloud storage, the data is going to be stored at the entire cloud space where you will be given with your login credentials. So you will have a login credential where your data are stored with. So I just prefer to go over the cloud storage because normally the CCTV videos is the volume and size of the videos are going to be something bigger. So here I just switch over into the cloud and it has been given. And after a few hours, I was just noticing how the video was recorded, where the video was recorded and all. And I just surprised that this camera is only recording when the intrusion is happening. And when the normal scenery is the same and there is no movements or any, the motion detection is identified, any persons are identified, then the system will only capture the video when the motion is identified and persons are identified. The remaining hours, this camera will just idle. It will be just looking into what the scene that we're just given with, and it will be just recording the scene of that. But the recording is not taking place until otherwise a motion is detected. So I was just wondering, right? So this camera is only communicating the videos is whenever the intrusion is identified and whenever the motion is identified. And the remaining time, the system will just keep itself idle. Idle refers to it will be just seeing what is happening with. And when a motion is identified, when a human intervention is identified, right, then the system automatically record a video for a minute and it will be continuing. So till the motion is identified, it will be continuing and it will be keeping all this data in the cloud. So here, the one learning that I have taken from this is the video which is necessary for any further analysis. That means whenever the intrusion is identified or any motion is identified, the videos required to analyze something. Otherwise, there is no need of any videos to analyze anything. So here, this technology just given me the idea how it is open fork technology taking up the further processing. So here, just assume this, if the camera is going to record the complete video of the complete day and hours, day and night, if it is just loading all the videos, it will be number of terabytes it will be consuming in your cloud space. But if there is an intrusion, that the space is alone going to be recorded, the remainings are going to be just skipped out and it's not going to be uploaded in the video. That's the same concept that we are bringing here. So the fork technologists are requesting or needing of the cloud space whenever the data storage is essential. And when a data storage is not required, then the cloud is not going to be a part here and it will be just sitting idle, right? So we'll just move on with what are the different pillars as your fork architecture is referred by your fork consortium. So there are 8 different pillars as your fork architecture is referring to. So we'll see one by one and we'll see what is the purpose of each pillars and how each pillar is representing the different requirements of your IoT devices in the market. And this reference architecture is reference data for the industries, manufacturers who are building a new IoT devices for the industry needs, right? So we'll move on with the core principles is the open fork reference architecture is driven by a set of core principles called as pillars, right? As we said, there are different pillars, totally in 8. And these pillars form the belief, an approach, and intent that guided the definition of the reference architecture. So as I said, it will be giving you the idea of how this IoT devices can be built up further. So they represent the key attributes of your system needs, right? And it will be of horizontal or vertical communication that we are going to take a place, and what your system architecture, and how the communication, your computing, your storage, and control and networking functionalities, everything. It will be defining how your system could be designed and developed further to meet the demands of your IoT devices in the market and further future, right? So this is a data which we are taken from the Open Fork Consortium forum. Which has been referring what are the different pillars of your open fork architecture. So as it is shown here, these pillars describe the requirements of every part of fork supply chain. So there will be different devices that are going to participate. Storage devices, network devices, computing devices, controlling devices, and accelerators. So all different kinds of devices are going to participate. So it will be guiding that how these devices can take up the different ideas and different approaches to meet the demands of your different communication needs. So the very first pillar is your security pillar, and the second one is scalability pillar. Third one is openness pillar, and the fourth one is autonomy pillar, and the fifth one is RAS, we used to refer as reliability, availability, and serviceability pillar. And the next one is agility pillar. The 7th one is hierarchy pillar, and the 8th one is programmability pillar. So there are different ideas, so security, scalability, openness, autonomy, and RAS, which is required, agility, hierarchy, and programmability. So all these 8 pillars makes a complete ideology of how one IoT devices could be brought into the market or to in the communication, right? So the capacities of each devices, how it could be, how the security could be given to, and how the communication that takes place with the devices, and how the devices are going to be in the hierarchy, and if it is in the hierarchy, how the communication between the different entities or different devices, and how the programmability that makes your devices to bring new features and new capabilities, All this were described in this 8 pillars of your folk computing. So we'll be visiting one by one and we'll see what are the needs of each one pillars and what are the representation of each pillars in this open folk reference architecture. So we'll move on with the first pillar, the security pillar. It describes idea that how the mechanisms which could make the communication between the silicons towards software applications. So silicons, which refers to the different edge devices that are going to participate in your communication, and towards software application, which are going to provide the support of computing power and all the other features your system need to have it. And here the security implementations is, which will be having a different attributes and descriptions, which talks about the privacy, anonymity, integrity, trust, attestation, verification, and measurement. So all these different properties and features of a devices are very much required. So here the privacy very much required, anonymity must be required, integrity very much required in your communication, all this, right? So the security pillar of this open folk array starts with a clear definition of how the base building blocks are. So what is going to be the base elements which are going to participate in the communication, how it could make the security between one with the other one. So here, the devices which are going to participate in this communication, which will share the idea, which will share the security ideas is by the way that they'll be confirming themselves that the security of the device is completely taken care. So when a device is taking a participation in the network, in a communication, so when it is getting into, immediately the security of the device is going to be given into picture. And it will be extending the trust chain by the way that how it is going to connect with the other devices, how the firmware and how the software, everything is going to be confirmed here by the way that the security of the device is very much conformed to take its communication further. So here, the devices which are participating in this, they'll be confirming the neighbors by the way that the security of the devices are very much conformed before to take up any communication by that particular edge device. And the second pillar is the scalability pillar. The scalability pillar which will address the dynamic technical business needs of your folk deployments. So here we need this scalability very much. By the way that when we extend the devices further, when we need of additional devices in the environment, how this scalability can take care of. For example, if we need more computing power by n number of additional folk devices, how this could be extended. So here, this folk architecture model very well supports to scale the number of units as number of devices which are going to participate in this communication architecture. So here they will be confirming the hierarchical properties and its locations and its logical edges in the network. All these are going to be confirmed by this reference architecture. And in the scalability, individual nodes which are participating in this communication, right? This can scale internally through the addition of new hardware or a new software. Folk networks can scale up or out through the addition of folk nodes to assist the heavily loaded nodes which are taking up the communication in the space. So either it could be given by additional devices on the same layer or adjacent layer that meet the need of the heavy loaded devices in the space. So the network of the folk can be scaled up and down based on the environment needs of this particular communication we are taking a place. So further, the storage, network connectivity, and analytic services that also extended further by this scaling feature. So folk reference architecture very well supporting in scaling up your different devices which are participating in the environment. And here the scaling up is not only for just the additional devices, the scalability also consider the different needs of your communication environment. So fog computing implementation also gives a different scalability in performance, capacity, reliability, security, and hardware and software scalability of your open fog model. Right? So we'll move on to the next pillar, openness. Openness pillar is very much essential, which is very much required for your open fog technologies. Here, this open fog openness pillar, which talks about the different devices which are going to participate. It not necessarily be a particular kind of platform or a particular kind of vendor, or it's a particular kind of a model. So it's encouraging different devices could be connected in the network, connected in the participation of your data communication. So here the openness is a very much a fundamental requirement of this, the fog network model that we are asking for. So this enables the pooling of different discoveries in the devices and software defined models. This could dynamically enhance the business mission of your open fog architecture. So bringing different devices and supporting different vendor devices, this could make the fog architecture can strengthen themselves to meet the needs of your communication, right? And further, this openness can also confirm the security of the different components that's participating with, and the composability and interoperability and open communication and location transparency. These also a part considered by your openness pillar. Then the next one is autonomy pillar, which gives the idea that this open fog reference model can bring different supports and capacitors to continue to deliver the different functionalities of your IoT devices in the market. So whenever the failure is happening or whenever the overloading is happening, so this autonomy pillar can take a part and can identify the needs of a different requirements and the devices which can take a part to support the devices. By the way, it can meet the needs of your computing and storage requirements. So here this autonomy is totally in the hierarchical order, and the decisions of the autonomy which could be defined by the hierarchy. So here the business mission of these local devices which can take a part, the autonomy help them to identify the different devices and take a different decisions according to the needs, as well as this autonomy help them to make the devices can take the responsibility of completing the communication required by your devices. So this autonomy, right? So which bring the different operations is autonomy of discovery, autonomy of orchestration and management, autonomy of security, autonomy of operations, and cost saving. So here, which supports a wide range of functionality, which can take up on a different kind of autonomy that can be brought into the different IoT devices. So here, the devices which are taking up a part in this communication, it can take a volume and a bunch of data in the market. So which could be stored and which could be analyzed and which could bring the knowledge toward devices which needs the services. And the next one is the programmability pillar. Programmability pillar talks about how these devices can program to bring the new features to this hardware components. So this talks about, so what are the different programming methodologies available, by the way that how we can enhance the functionality of a particular devices which could meet the requirements of your IoT devices in the market. So the devices which are in the market could be enhanced further by the programming capacity, programmability, by the way that it can add it with the new features which is required for the needs of your developments. So here this programmability, which includes the different benefits, which is adaptive infrastructure, resource efficient deployment, multi-tendency, economical operation, and enhanced security. So here the enhanced security, as we said, the security layer is also taking a part here. And the remaining things is the economical operation, multi-tenancy, and resource efficient deployments. All this takes a part by the way that the devices could be programmed in a way the capacity of the devices can be enhanced further. And the next layer is reliability, availability, and serviceability pillar. So this is sixth pillar that comes in our reference architecture, and which is bringing three different features of your open fork reference. So the first one is the reliability, and the second one is the availability, and the third one is the serviceability. And it is a basic service requirement of your open fork reference model. So which includes and which takes care of your hardware, software, and the operations which is taken care by your IoT devices. So we'll just look at this, what is reliability reference your reference model is giving here. So here this pillar is giving a different kind of a reference properties and which will just ensure the reliable operation of your different hardware that's participating, and safeguarding the availability and integrity of your data as well as the computing power of your devices. Autonomous, predictive, and adaptive self-managing capabilities. So the devices which need to have this feature, by the way, that this can give support and immediate response to the needs. So this reliability obviously giving the increasing customer satisfaction by simplifying the support to the devices and device self-optimization and healing. So the devices are self-optimization devices which could understand and which could improve further to meet the features and the support of the devices. So further, it's having the capacity of initiating the request for preventive maintenance, so that in case of a difficulties, in case of any issues with the devices, the preventive maintenance can also be taken care by your device model here. Testing, validation of your system components are a part here. By the way, the devices take the responsibility of conforming them by themselves to meet the needs of your devices. And further, providing alarms, providing reports, providing logs, etc. All these are the basic features of your devices which are referred by here your reference architecture. And validation of your system platform and validation of the architecture, validation of the model, all this come under the category of your reliability of your open fork reference model here. And the next one will move with the availability. Availability, we know that. So whenever this communication is taking place, this availability take a major part here. In case of this availability is the biggest challenge, then the cloud system or a fork system cannot meet its needs in the market. So here this reference architecture refers it. The availability ensures the continuous management and orchestration, so that it not only just confirming the availability of that its own devices, further it will be just confirming the availability of the complete hierarchy of this orchestration, as well as it will be just confirming the manageability and its control, and further upgradability, diagnostics, and secured firmware modification. All these are going to be confirmed in this availability space. Further, fault isolation, fault syndrome detection, machine learning, all this will help improve the mean time to repair of your failed system to achieve higher availability. The concept of cloud-based backend support with the availability of interface throughout the system will meet the need of the devices in the market. And the third one, we just move with the serviceability. The serviceability is the other one feature your RAS pillar is referring with. Serviceability, that means the devices which could provide the necessary services at the need of a particular IoT device that's taking a part in the communication. So here the servicing of the fork deployment ensures the correct operation of the devices that's taking a participation here. And highly automated installation, upgrade, and repair to efficiency, right? All this will take a part here. By the way, the device is not going to be just holded for a different reason. So the devices will be completely available, as well as the device is completely available for the service. And hardware, software, right? Which could either autonomously heal or to be serviced by various manufacturers. So as I said in the earlier, the openness of your reference model. So the different vendor products are going to participate in your communication. As we said, there will be mobile phone is going to participate. There will be the laptop is going to participate. There will be your cameras are going to participate. So the different vendor products which are coming into the market, which is coming into this communication environment. So how these devices are going to autonomously heals themselves, and by the way that it could be serviced on the issues that's happening with. Further, easy of use to accommodate the maintenance, as well as serviceability of the system includes the hardware, software application, networking, and data. Easy of access, swap out of hardware, so the component interoperability, replication of system configuration over a cloud on a replaced or a swapped system. So here, there's three different features of this sixth layer. The reliability, availability, and serviceability just confirms that the devices are reliable by the way that you can just believe on your devices, and available, it will be completely providing the services whenever the needs are rising with, and the serviceability whenever the upgradation, whenever the changes, whenever the modification, whenever the swapping, all this could be handled by the sixth layer. So that if we look at this, the previous all these layers, right? So the security, that the openness, all this, giving a different definition that how good a device can participate in this communication, right? So we'll move on with the agility pillar. Agility pillar is the seventh one, which is addressing the operational decision of your open fork deployment. So which gives the transformation of the volume of data which is to be actionable. So which will take a part of analyze your data, execute your data at different levels. It could be at your cloud level, or it could be at your edge level based on the needs of your communication. So the architecture enables the creation of context close to the data generation, as we said at the beginning. So the cloud computing and this fork computing is differed by the space. So the data processing is going to take place at the space your data is getting generated with, which makes the most of your the data latency issues are going to be resolved there. And further, this avoids the dependencies of network taxes, which we have described in the previous. So normally this network taxes represent unnecessarily the data that we are communicating in the cloud environment. So the data which are not necessary for the communication, which are not needy for the communication, this data are not going to be communicated. So these are otherwise called as a network taxes, unnecessarily putting up the additional burden toward network communication. So this could be avoided by your IO4 communication. By the way, it will meet your requirements of the IoT devices. Further, the last pillar, hierarchy pillar, which talks about how the arrangement of the devices could be given here. So how the hierarchy should be brought in, how the devices could be connected, how the communication between different levels of the hierarchy that we are establishing in the communication. So which is just confirming the traditional cloud architecture is going to be a part, as well as the open fork is also going to take a part in this communication, as well as the computing resources, which has been seen, right? Conforming the different functionalities of your devices and end-to-end IoT communication, as well as the communication required with your cloud devices too. Further, each fork node is totally autonomous, ensures that uninterrupted operation of the facility it manages to. So if you look at this different 8 pillars, so this 8 pillars refers that what are the needs of different references to bring your new devices in the fork environment. So we just recall what are the different layers, different pillars as we referred here. So starts with the security pillar. The second one is the scalability pillar, and openness pillar, autonomous pillar, RAS pillar, agility pillar, hierarchy pillar, and programmability pillar. So the programmability pillar, which takes a part, which just confirms the devices could be programmable. The hierarchy pillar, which just confirm the devices which are participating are arranged in a hierarchy, which could confirm that the order is properly managed and the arrangement should lead to reduce the latency of your communication. Agility, which just confirms the devices could provide the necessary supports according to the needs. RAS, as we said, reliability, availability, and serviceability is given. Autonomy, the total freedom to the devices are given here. So the devices can take up its own responsibility of giving a service to the needs. And openness, so different resources, different devices could brought into the market so that the different new components can be added into a fork model there. And the scalability, so based on the needs is very well being we increase the number of devices according to our needs, right? And security, it is very basic information that we know that without the security we cannot do any communication with your cloud environment. So we just have a recap, right? What does fork, cloud, and edge computing is all about? This is the video which I just received from the Open Fork consortium, and we can just visit to make ourselves clear with this what these units are. So I'll just take from start.
Dear audience, any queries? Please mute yourself and ask your queries.
This video is visible to the audience. So audience, can you respond this? Is this video what I'm showing is visible to you?
No, sir.
Oh, you're not seeing. Just a second. Just a second, I'll just confirm.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
So this, I hope this video has been given you a basic idea what this folk, cloud, and edge computing is participating in this communications, in IoT communications. So here further, we'll be just moving into one use case visit, which will guide you on how we, one use case of requirement meets the different needs of your devices referred by your open fork model. So we'll be taking up, I think the slide is visible. Is that the slide is visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Fine, fine. So we'll be moving on to visit one use case model. Here we are going to see how we this use case
Visible,
model
sir.
is. Yes, ma, hearing?
Sir, visible, no problem, sir. You can talk, you can proceed.
So here we'll be just visiting this use case to know how we, this use case model is meeting the different needs of the requirements. So the model we are just referring is going to be airport visual security. So we know that how the airport security is required to. So what we are going to discuss in this is the visual security of airport, in which the end-to-end scenario, how this could be applied using fog computing. So this visual security of this airport model, how this could be applied in a fog computing model that we are going to see. So it will be explains you how the different complex data that we are going to refer with, and how the different demands that comes in a real time, and how the information collection is going to take place, and how the data sharing, and how the data analysis, and how the different actions that we are going to take up here. So we just look up what are the sequence that will happen if a passenger take a journey between two different airports. Just assume this the journey that we are going to take is going to be from Hyderabad to Bhopal here, right? So if this is going to be the sequence, what the passenger will do, and how the security of the passenger is going to be monitored, and how the other necessary support required by your passenger is given by your fog system. So basically the customer, the passenger, he's supposed to leave from a home and drives to the airport. This is the first thing the passenger is supposed to start with. Then the passenger may park his vehicle in a long-term parking carriage. So assume there is a parking carriage is available where this passenger is parking his vehicle there. It could be of a bike or a car. And he takes his bags to the airport security checkpoint. So he'll be taking all his bags and luggages, and he will be coming for scanning and checking in of his journey. And once the checks are through, then the security checks are through, he'll be proceeding to the boarding gate. So then after that, he'll be just flying in. So he'll be then. And when he is reaching the arrival station, so the destination, he need to retrieve his bag from this bag dispensers, right? So then he'll be proceeds to leave the airport. So if this is the case, how will your fog computing environment may bring different devices and models that to meet this customer security in the space, right? So these are the things that the customer is going to be carried out. Here the end-to-end security is required here. So the customer, the passenger who starts the journey at one place, and he'll be reaching the destination. And between this end-to-end, right, from the source to destination, what are the different fog devices are need to be participating here, needs to participate here, and how the security is going to be provided, right? So here, this scenario that we are going to discuss, we are not going to bring different kinds of threats. Say, assume this, we feel this travel is something a smooth travel. There won't be any difficulty in this communication, assuming the passenger is having a ticket and he is having a correct package, and he is rightly checking in, and he is rightly boarding the right flight, and all these things are smooth. So if this is a case, how your fog environment is giving the support for all the communication that we are going to see in between. It is not this, the list what is shown in the screen is not going to be addressed by this use case. So in case of the vehicle is entering into the carriage or the parking is stolen, that we are not going to address here. And if the passenger name is not in the fly list, so we cannot do anything on this, and that we are not going to address here. And if the passenger leaves the luggage at some different places in the airport, so that also we are not going to address here. And if the luggage is not arrived at the destination, that is also we are not considering here. And luggage is scanned, loaded, and it is not picked up by the correct passenger. So that is also we are not attempted here. And if somebody is stolen this, or somebody has taken a different package, that is also not addressed here. So the passenger takes someone else's luggage, that also we are not addressing here. So at the last, what we want to refer here is, in this travel, we are going to give a smooth transaction of the travel of the passenger from one airport to the other airport, right? So if this is the case, the data generation units is, normally in airport, there will be multiple number of security cameras. So this high-end cameras are going to take a part of recording all the communications. So here, all the security informations are going to be recorded by your different cameras. So it will be catching all the possible threats required in this extensive network surveillance. So these cameras are going to participate here. And if you refer this, the cameras which are referred in this number H264 or H265, so which is of the capacity of 12 Mbps at 30 frames per second, may require 1 TB of data, 1 TB of data per day by a single camera. So if you assume this per an airport, there will be hundreds of cameras are going to be deployed with. So if all these hundreds of cameras are going to be deployed, and each camera is going to record 1 TB of data per day, so how much the volume of data that we are going to transact in the cloud network? So it will be very huge, and it is very voluminous in a size. And from this, if you are going to analyze something, and if you are going to identify any abnormal behavior, it will be very much difficult by the cloud computing environment to decide on this the voluminous data. So here is a place where fog computing is coming into the picture. It will be referring to the data sets which are required for analysis. That alone is going to be communicated for your communicated to a cloud environment. The remaining is going to be handled by your fog network itself, right? So here, the problem that we are going to refer here is the bandwidth, the volume, and the latency. So the cloud network cannot meet the requirements. Here, if this device are going to participate in 2 different models, say that the H2 cloud approach or this edge-only approach, there are certain advantages and there are certain disadvantages. But comparing to a fog model, this H2 cloud or edge-only models are totally finding lagness. And by the way, this could not meet your requirements of your airport security. So here we just visit this H2 cloud approach. That means that the devices which is participating in the edge, that's sharing the data for your cloud approach. So here advantages we can refer that the data which we are going to share is going to be stored in the cloud, and the historical analysis can be done at the place. But the problem is the latency. So the system is totally unable to process all this in milliseconds, and it alert the authorities. It's totally impossible, as we said that the volumes of the data is more. And the second is the cost of the data transfer that comes with. The higher cost of a data transfer is placing here, and this will lead to spend more resources for sending of your data in the cloud. And the reliance and the availability of the cloud is going to be also the biggest question here. So the cloud to edge, the edge to cloud is totally will not meet the requirements of your security requirements here. And if you go with this edge-only approach, here the major advantage is the low latency. So the system could process and compute the requirements, but it is lacking with the limitation of sharing the data. As we said, it is a edge-only model. So there won't be any cloud space attached with, and it will be only capable to process the data, which can give you the decision, but it could not meet any statistical reference or future references that you want for your further analysis. So edge-only model will not meet your requirements. So here, that's the place where the fog reference model is coming to here. So the fog reference model, as we said, there are different layers comes in. And this layers take a part of identifying and classifying your data sets according to need, and the data sets which are required are alone going to be communicated to the cloud requirement. So here the security of your airport requirements is, so the OpenFOG reference model, very well it will be giving you the support. So the devices which are participating, say that the cameras is, the different sensors is, all this will be physically distributed in this FOG environment. And the scalability is also provided by your OpenFOG reference model. So whenever we add a new terminal or a new gate or a new sensor or a new equipment in our security enhancement, all this could be possible in our OpenFOG model. And similarly, the openness, RES, programmability, all these are possible when you go with your OpenFOG model. So whereas in the cloud and edge model, so these things are not possible and this is are not referred by. Now we just visit to this architecture here, and we just see what are the different components are going to participate, and how the layer is, different layers is taking a part to give you the complete the requirement of your communications. So here, if we refer this architecture, this model is having several layers and which will enable this OpenFOG model of this visual security given with a complete need of whatever your devices that's participating here. So here, here the performance and scalability and the security, manageability, data analytics and control, and business and cross-FOG application, all these different layers are participating here. If we refer this FOG model here, so the participation of different sensors and actuators and protocol abstraction layer, hardware platform and infrastructure, and different components that participate in the network, accelerators, computing power, storage, and all these are participating in your visual security of your airport requirements. We'll be seeing one by one. So the performance, as we said, the performance is completely taken care by your reference model, by the way that the latency is a very sensitive information, and the devices which are participating in this communication is intact with the needy actions. And the platforms is, as we said, as a different vendor products are going to participate here, this FOG model very well confirms that the infrastructure gives different FOG nodes that can participate and that can share and communicate with each other in a different scenario that is needed by your different devices. And data analytics, so which need for this volume of data that we are going to process with. So all the nodes which are participating in this communication and in this security model, so which is enabled with a higher intelligence and which could take the decisions very immediate. And the software infrastructure, so this OpenFOG model very well referred to the data that we are going to transact and the intelligence needed by and different environments of this FOG is going to be deployed with, right? So which will provide a complete higher level computational power for this security model we are asking for. And the sensors, actuators, and controls that's required for the security model. The physical security model says the gates, doors, and motion detectors, very well this could be deployed in our the security model asking here. And the other different sensors is maybe the fire sensor, smoke sensor, heat sensor, and bomb sensors. All these sensors can also be taking a part in the security of your the security model we are given here. And other than this, the audio sensors and basic audio analytics that could also be given by your this model here. And above this, RFID sensors also taking a part, which is to maybe scanning that the passengers information or the ticket information, all this, the RFID can also take a part here. By the way, this can also be giving a different kind of enhancement in the transport availability of the airport model. And above this, the protocol abstraction layer and different accelerators which are participating and the computing model, all these are supported by your OpenFOG reference model. And accelerators which gives a different kind of networking platform. So which is this AlexNet, GoogleNet, TensorFlow, all these are given here. By the way that the learning and detection of the data can be possible in your this airport model here. So this could be trained and this could be giving a complete needs of this security model we are talking about. So this could be a face detection, this could be object detection, everything is possible by the programmability of your system. And the computing power, as we said, the high level softwares which could take the responsibility of the high level software needs of your different devices which are participating. And other than this, the storage and management and security, all this could be addressed by your open fork model. As we said, the data is that captured by your different cameras, surveillance cameras, which could be stored or which could be taken and stored at your needs. And the management of your different business needs that also be possible by your open fork model. And here the updatable firmwares, softwares, and the serviceability, all these are referred by the open fork model here. And the security, as we said, so the devices which are capable to provide a clear security of what is the need of a particular the IoT device that we are taking care of here. And that above than this, the system view of your visual security model, which will helps the software developers or the system manufacturers or developers, how this security model could be designed and how this security model can be arranged to make the software could meet the requirements or the hardware could meet the requirements. So the same, the view model, which we have shown here, the sensors participating and protocol that's participating and network, accelerators and computing technologies, storage technologies, and all this are participating, how this could be given in the point view of your software developers or your manufacturer that we are going to see in this further slides. So here the hardware virtualization is giving the support. The network hierarchy is overloaded or down, and this orchestration will move the responsibility to the adjacent nodes in the same level or adjacent level. So whenever the overloading happens with the different devices, so the responsibility could be moved with different adjacent nodes that to meet the needs of the computing powers in the network. So here the hierarchical arrangement and orchestration which confirms it, the data should be processed immediately and action could be taken immediately. So here they'll be taking the responsibility of processing, acceleration, storage, and network functions could be virtualized to maximize the efficiency and the flexibility of your fork system. So here virtualization may also incorporated to give the containerization depending upon the software layers that the hardware is going to run on. So here the containerization which gives an idea behind how the devices could be designed in a way that the devices could be completely capable to process a request needs of the system. And the system view model, the devices which are totally autonomous as much as possible and minimize the complexity of a nodes are given in this infrastructure. And further, the nodes are in the higher level should monitor the functions of the lower level nodes so that the coordination between the nodes are going to be taken care by your system view model. And the peer nodes of the same hierarchy or the higher hierarchy could detect the security threats of the different nodes which are participating in the communication. And stitching up all the cameras which are participating in this communication. So the devices which will be connecting in a different layer, which will be connecting to different needs, which could be of near to edge fork devices, or could be the next layer, the second layer, or which could be of the next layer, which can take up the data to the further analysis. So here in this airport communication, there will be number of cameras which are going to participate here. There will be the source station, the security cameras are going to participate, and the destination station, there will be security cameras are going to participate. If something is need to be analyzed, how this data are going to be exchanged between different devices, that is going to be the request here. So here the fork nodes can understand by themselves, which can share the data between the different fork nodes which are participating here. So here the level of maintenance they are given here. So the peer level communication is one, the next higher level communication, and finally with the third level of communication, which takes the data into the backbone communication. So here, small screenshots of our different security arrangements, which is in the airport, is given here. And in the bottom, I've shown you that different requirements of security architecture we need for an airport system. So here in the bottom image, you can see this. The security requirements of airport architecture is shown here. So the different components which are participating, which are represented in a model here. So here, the security perimeter security. So at the place of the boarding points, so the security requirements is at this place, and drone detection, if it has happened between, so that is required to be identified, and evacuation of a crowds in certain circumstances, that is also need to be identified, and airfield safety, that's also need to be identified. Smart control rooms, which is to control all the devices, that is also required, and video analysis to detect various suspicious activity, that is required, and fast detection of flames and smokes. So when a smoke sensor and a fire sensor is deployed here, then the detection of this and communication of cleared different areas is that the information with, and airport queue management, that is also need to be. So if we refer this arrangement of different needs of security, so we'll be deploying number of fork devices in the environment. So this need to be participate, this need to communicate, this need to come into the decision that the security of the airport model need to be maintained in a better way. So here there are the different accelerators are required, different computing points are required. So the viewpoints of security, so which will very much clear with, so whether it is identifying the correct detection or it is going to be a false information, that should be confirmed by your devices. So the computational accelerator, which will make an intense computations and will provide fast and energy efficient communication to the devices in a real-time manner. And the computing powers resources, which could be of multi-core processors or which could be of multi-socket services, which can provide a high level of hierarchy in this communication, right? So here you can just look at this image, and just shown this application of airport visual security model here. And here there are different circles we marked with the different colors, which shown as blue as one color and green and red is one. So there are different fork nodes which are participating here. So by classifying the layer of each node, we are just given a different colors here. So the blue color which refers it, these are the near edge nodes in the fork model, and the green color which refers the second hierarchical level of your fork nodes, and the third is going to be the green is going to be the third hierarchical model here. So at the gate point of your boarding points, so there are a number of cameras that we have deployed here. So which could be starting with G1, G2, G3. So there will be 24 different fork nodes we have placed here. And in at level 2, the hierarchical model, we are given 6 different models is given here, 6 different fork nodes we are given here. And the third level, we are given 2 different fork nodes here. So the arrangement, if you look at this, so here the airport approach is given. So here we are placing two different folk nodes, which is to monitor the arrival and exit of the passengers in the airport. And here another two, which will be just confirming the arrival and exit of the passengers. And the parking slot, there has been 6 different folk nodes has been placed. And to coordinate all these 6 folk nodes, there has been one node is participating at the layer 2. And here the arrival and departure plane locations, we are deputed another 2 folk nodes at the arrival and 2 nodes at your departure space. And here in the boarding points is we are placed nearly 24 folk nodes here. Just assume this, all these folk nodes want to communicate with in this transaction process by the way that they have to confirm the security of the airport has been maintained in a right way. So this two are the second level layers which will be coordinating with all the remaining 24 nodes which is participating at the level 1, and this 2 nodes of at level 3 which is participating, which is coordinating with 6 nodes of at level 2. So the voluminous of your data communication that taking place at the security is going to be huge and huge here, so that the folk node, which will be just making the folks, which will be capable enough to manage and respond needs us immediately, right? So here, this end-to-end model. So here the different sensors and different requirements, it has been shown here, which is shown in the previous is given here in the description here. So when passengers arrive to the airport, the license plate say that the number plate of the vehicles need to be identified by different folk nodes or a security camera there. And arrival of a passenger and departure of a passenger should be identified by a different sensor and cameras. And parking structures where the passengers comes to and walk into the airport facility, that need to be identified by different sensors and folk nodes. And passenger security scanning, where the passengers are required to provide an identification or ID proofs or boarding passes, there also we need to have the folk nodes. And terminals where the passengers can walk to and shop and leave the airport, that is also we need different kind of sensors and different kinds of cameras there. So this is what the model here, if we refer to that, in this end-to-end model, there will be the participation of n different number of folk nodes that to interact with the different devices which is participating in the security of your airport system. So there will be different levels and different layers which takes the communication to provide the immediate action whenever the abnormality is identified at your the airport security system. So here the different possible nodes, as I said, there will be the license plate recognition folk node is required, and the parking slot, the folk node is required, and the arrival departure, the folk nodes are required, and supporting of screening process, the folk nodes are required, and the terminal spaces where the departure is, the folk nodes are required, and ingress and egress of your passengers to the planes, there is also we need a folk nodes. And hierarchical folk nodes which supports the monitoring and the grouping of different folk nodes which participating in the network. And further, above on all these folk nodes which are participating in the security platform, beyond this folk nodes want to be capable enough to identify the different scenarios which could be of identifying the number plate information or identifying the passengers information or identifying the people count. So this could be done by your CNN network, which could be trained and which could be improved further to identify the different needs of the security requirements of the airport panel. And here the LPR, so that the number plate recognition nodes which could identify localization of your data and character segmentation, optical character recognition. All these capabilities is this nodes need to be provided. So as we told at the beginning, so the programmability of your fork nodes is which could make this localization can be given, and segmentation capacity can be given, optical character recognition can be given. And by all this license plate recognition and the face detection of the customer, passenger recognition could be given to the fork nodes. So if the passenger recognition come into here, then this passenger recognition is of different kinds of passengers which are going to participate here. So there will be a regular passenger who comes for a transit. So they are going to be somebody, and the airport security panels and that travel security panels and federal agencies and law enforcement peoples and airline staffs. There will be multiple peoples who are going to participate in this scenarios, and how this fork nodes could identify the different peoples which are participating in this the security panel of your airport system. And further, the surveillance system, airport security systems, and law enforcement systems, and all this need to be deployed with your fork models and fork nodes which are participating in this communication, right? So here we are just shown different kinds of sensors and different kinds of actions that is required for the different events happens with your airport transfers that happen for a passenger. So when a passenger parks a vehicle in a parking carriage, and how the things are need to be carried out there. So there will be the sensor which could identify the passenger's arrival, and it could identify the arrival of a car, and this car could be referring the gate actuator, and the gate actuator should understand the arrival of a car. And then, so ingestion of different information about this, the customers or the passengers that are arriving to, and they'll be numbered or tagged, and they'll be verified for a different data sets, whether the number plates are fine, whether the passing systems are fine, whether the car is a bad car or a right. So here the bad car system and a bad pass system is referring to the if the vehicle is found to be of different types, could be of the bigger vehicle or a smaller vehicle or an older vehicle, which could do better or which could not fast enough. All these devices, all these vehicles could be identified, and according to this, those vehicles could be titled as different types, so that the bad car and the bad license and the bad car system, all this could be brought in by the capacity of your fork devices, which could identify the type of your vehicle. And the entering and arrival of your passengers to the airport. So there will be number of cameras are going to be participating there. There will be facial capture is going to be, there will be baggage capture is going to be. So which are need to be integrated, which are need to be fusioned, and which are need to be recorded. And according to this, the passengers information, car ID, and package information are need to be recorded. And the information which we have brought from the parking information could be recorded. So all this need to be coordinated, all this need to be communicated to the central tracking system. And if some kind of tracking and actions are required, this could be done at this level. And further, the passengers comes for taking up back at the airport security points. This can also be needs of a different kind of sensors or different kinds of fork nodes to participate there. So there also there will be the fusion of data, there will be the checking points, there will be the alerters, and there will be the car detection system, and there will be remote updation functionalities. All these are required for this back taking systems also. And check-ins through, and when a passenger comes in and the check-in is taking place and all this. So we'll be just conforming with a different confirmation of a passenger's transport information and travel information. This needs different sensors need to participate there. And here also the capturing of the passengers and the baggage information and data fusion and the central tracking system and manifest verification. All this could be taken care by your fork nodes. And upon arrival at the destination station, and the same thing is going to be repeated there. Then the identification of a customer, identification of a passenger, and tracking of the different packages, and alerting if something is getting wrong. And all this could be done by your the Fog nodes, right? So in summary, if you look at this airport security model, so the different needs of devices, the different Fog devices. So all these are available, all these are supported by your open Fog reference model. So we can have a scalability there, we can have a security there, we can have the hierarchical arrangement there. We can have the coordination of different Fog nodes there. So all this could be applied, and this airport reference model could be rightly implemented, and very well this could be implemented in a different airports. So this reference model guides them that the people or the manufacturer who can build different IoT devices or Fog devices for this kind of a security model for the Fog computing networks, right? So here I'll be passing here for a break, and the Fog computing and ecosystem and the SDN model will be discussing in this afternoon discussion. Okay. Any queries, you can very well you can ask it.
Hello, sir. Good morning. This is Dr. Gauri Ganesh.
Yes, sir. Good morning,
Just I
sir.
want to put forth a small question.
Yes, sir.
You had shown the security model in the airport, visual security model in the airport.
Yes, sir.
Just my small question is,
Yes, sir.
for computing purpose,
Yes.
the edge nodes, how it will use the computing, whether themselves it will do, or else it will talk to the computing layer of cloud computing.
Sir, actually, when we focus on this Fog model, and the nodes which are participating in this Fog reference, any devices, any devices which are participating in the communication, the devices are totally capable of having the computation facility and functionality. So it is not necessary to take this computation requirement to the cloud environment. Until otherwise, if this data need to be stored or this data need to be communicated to the cloud, these data are not going to be shared with the cloud environment there. So this will make the Fog nodes as capable enough to provide the services of services of this requirement, as well as it will be giving a real time the response of the needs as the devices are having. So for your question, this Fog nodes are totally capable enough. So that's the way the devices are coming into the market nowadays.
Well said, sir. Thank you, sir. You had actually given a very nice introduction about the Fog architecture, and then also given the case study also with the airport also. Thank you for your sessions.
Thank you, sir.
Participants, any other questions are there? You can post, or else Shilpa ma'am or Navya ma'am is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. With your permission, I'd like to announce the lunch break, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be meeting again by 2 o'clock, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So, dear audience, there is much more to learn from sir in the afternoon session. So, please take a lunch break for 1 hour, and please come back by 2 o'clock sharp. Please stick to the time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.